Ladies and gentlemen, y'all know what time it is. Let me just throw this up one good time. That is a throwback to Marcus Ware Cowboys jersey. I wanted to go ahead and represent that one good time. I'm going to go ahead and break down the AFC as promised, like I did the NFC the other day. Let's just dive right into it. So, the AFC, the favorites I have are the Bills. Shouldn't be a big surprise to anybody. Tough, gritty defense, great secondary, considering that they're adding Josh Norman as a number two. I think he wasn't a great number one in the Redskins. Excuse me, the Washington football team. Caught myself there. He'll be a great number two next to Tre'Davious White. They return the entire offensive line. Good running game. I'm pretty high on Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. Big trade for Stephon Diggs, making the receiving core interesting, considering they have the burner John Brown on the other side and Beasley in the slot. Ultimately, Josh Allen needs to take the next step, though. He scares me. He makes a lot of boneheaded plays. If you guys saw the playoffs, he did this weird scramble and pitch back that was completely unnecessary, almost blew the comeback for them. But he has a big arm, big talent. If it comes together for him this year, it should be a big year for the Bills. Combine that with the fact that the Patriots are taking a step back. I have them as the number two. There's a bit of a change into the guard. Bill Belichick has to retool. I'm not sure he had enough in the tank, considering all the players that opted out due to COVID. Love Cam, but he does have I do question if he has anything left in the tank. It should be interesting to watch. It should be fun to watch. But last time we saw him play, he didn't look good. Granted, he had a shoulder surgery, and then last year he had the ankle, so we didn't even really get to see him play. But I question how much he has left in the tank, considering that the Patriots also didn't have great weapons and they lost some players. So, out of respect for Bill Belichick, I still have them number two. But in a close third, Miami, I love the way they're building the team. They signed Byron Jones to a big contract to put him next to Xavier Howard, that gives them one of the better secondaries in the league, at least the tandems. It will allow a lot of flexibility in the front seven. A front seven is solid, but no real playmakers. They did add, Calvin Noy, the D lineman from the Bills, who had 6 sacks. Offensively, however, they are building a nice little offense. They drafted Tua, drafted a couple offensive linemen. This was a scrappy team down the stretch last year, if you guys can remember. I expect them to continue to be a scrappy team. They're just not quite there yet. If Tua steps in and lights the world on fire, maybe you can see them sneaking in, considering that there are 7 playoff spots. But I don't see it. At best, I see kind of an 8-8 team that's going to be in every game. The Jets, I just don't trust them. This is going to be the doormat of this division. Not a fan of Sam Darnold. Has a tendency to will under pressure, turn the ball over. The coach, like I said, I don't trust him. Adam Gase showed up to a press conference last year, became an instant meme. His eyes looked like they were coming out of his head. Everybody saw it. It's kind of hard to respect the guy like that. And as you saw, Jamal Adams talked a lot of trash about him. They signed Le'Veon Bell. He made it pretty evident that he didn't want Le'Veon Bell at all. Not to mention, I don't think Le'Veon Bell's running style fits this type of offense, especially considering the O-line. Even though they drafted Mekhi Becton, an issue. His patient run style, you can't do it. Guys are running free into the backfield. So he has to hit the hole faster, harder, and I'm not sure that he's able to do that. You can be a lot worse at the running back position. They did sign Frank Gore, who, in my opinion, by the end of the season, you can see him probably getting a lot more run than Le'Veon Bell. They do have a lot of speed at wide receiver, but this team just isn't ready for prime time. I like Greg Williams. I think the Browns should have hired him instead of Freddie Kitchens last year, but he just doesn't have enough tools in his tool set to really do what he likes to do. He likes to aggressively blitz. He has to manufacture sacks, considering there's no big sack guy. And it's going to be a problem when they don't really have great corners, and then they lost Jamal Adams. So I think it's going to be a rough year defensively for the Jets. Sam Darnold could take another step forward, but I just don't think they have enough going to get out from being the bottom of this division. So moving on to the AFC West, and what can I say? The Chiefs, the rich get richer. They added Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You guys saw what he did Thursday night, over 100 yards and a touchdown. I think Kelechi Osemele, who is the left guard, is a big deal. A few years ago, he was a major free agent signing for the Raiders. Had some injury issues since then, but if he rounds back into form, he makes what was already a pretty decent unit, a pretty good unit on the line. He blows holes in the defenses. They have weapons galore. I don't have to tell you about them. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Mecole Hardman. They have a track team. So offense, no questions. Their defense, because of all the money they've allocated to the offense, has some holes in it, but they're built to pass rush. Chris Jones is one of the better interior defensive linemen. Frank Clark, one of the better defensive ends when it comes to getting to the quarterback. I'm not sure how built to stop the run they are, but considering they're going to be running up the score, I think this team is built appropriately to own the AFC West. The second best team that I think in this division should be, and a lot of people are down on them because they got rid of Phillip Rivers, the Chargers. With the addition of Trey Turner and a healthy, Pouncey coming back, this is going to be the best offensive line they've had in some time. Tyrod, I was high on Justin Herbert. I know a lot of people are down on him. Tyrod is not going to turn the ball over and is mobile, which is an element Phillip Rivers didn't have. Phillip Rivers was turning the ball over at the end. I thought he looked done. So it'll be interesting to see what Tyrod can do with this talent. Remember, he did take the Bills to the playoffs with a good defense and ball control type of offense. I know he looked rough in Cleveland. However, it's Cleveland. No line. All he had was really Jarvis Landry. So I think Tyrod's going to do pretty well here. On the defensive side of the ball, you know they got Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram. They brought in Linval Joseph for the interior push and to help stop the run. Linebacking is probably the weakest link. I do like Kenneth Murray, the draft pick. They did add Chris Harris Jr., who's a baller at one corner, Casey Hayward, a baller at another corner, and Desmond King is a baller as a third corner. You can have a lot worse at third corner. They did lose Derwin James in the back end, but the front seven is so good, and it's combined with the corners that the safety play might not matter. So moving on to the AFC North. Actually, I'm sorry, didn't finish. So that from the Chargers, we're going to go third to the Broncos. I love what this team did in the offseason. However, they suffered one major blow, which was Von Miller. I love how they picked up Jarrell Casey, Melvin Gordon to complement Lindsey at running back. They added speed and weapons in Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler to go with Cortland Sutton and Noah Fant. It all comes down to how Drew Lock develops. They're still third because of the Von Miller injury. But this could be a team that surprises a lot of people, especially if Drew Lock develops. He has all the weapons he needs. Now fourth, and by fourth, this could be a division where they have everybody above 500 in this division. Because I don't really think the Raiders are a true fourth team. It's just the division that they're in. They could overtake the Broncos in this scenario considering the Von Miller injury. But I have them fourth. I think John Gruden's an offensive genius. I was very high on Derek Carr. Another year under John Gruden should do wonders for him. They have a good running game with Josh Jacobs, good O-line. They added another weapon in Henry Ruggs that they're hoping to be the next Tyreek Hill. Questions on D, but they have a young up-and-coming talent with Max Crosby and Cleveland Farrell on the other side, who I expect to both actually get better. The linebacking core needs a little work, but they did sign Corey Littleton, who's a big deal in the pass coverage. They have young talent at safety with Abram coming back. So it's almost like adding another first-round pick this year. Their secondary overall is young, could prove problematic, but they have some nice building blocks on defense. Offensively, they're going to be pretty good. Defense, if they gel by mid-season, this could be a team that sneaks into a wild card. Nobody wants to play. Every team is live in this division. Probably one of the better divisions next to the AFC North. So moving on to the AFC North, a lot of people are probably going to laugh at this, but I actually think this year the Browns are going to take this division. I think they turned the corner this year. Coaching was a big issue with Freddie Kitchens. He made some real boneheaded plays, like running draws on fourth down. It was a mess last year. With renewed emphasis on running the ball with Nick Chubb and they have a full year of Kareem Hunt, I think it's going to open up big plays for OBJ and Landry. They did add Jack Conklin at one tackle and Jedrick Wills at the other, which should give Baker Mayfield plenty of time to do what he does, which was be an accurate quarterback. I think he panicked last year. I think he tried to force the ball to hurt OBJ a lot last year, and it affected the team as a whole and affected their psyche. So this new offense that they're probably going to deploy, which is going to feature the run more, and I think Nick Chubb could make a play for best running back in the league this year. And Kareem Hunt, he really should be one of these running backs that sign one of these major deals. But of course, some mistakes in his life has cost him some money. The secondary has some nice corners, and Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams. If they take the next step, this defense could be formidable. Linebacker's an issue, but Mack Wilson is a pretty good one there to work with. And Myles Garrett looked special last year. So before the suspension, that I think he hilariously hit Mason Rudolph in the head with a helmet. I had to take a minute to chuckle at that one, because how, as a football player, you get hit in the head with your own helmet is just pure hilarity to me. However, this is the team I think to beat this year. Combined with their ascension, and I think the Ravens are going to take a step back, not all the way back that they're going to fall out of the playoffs, but I just think second. I think they're going to concede enough ground that the Browns can overtake them, especially if the Browns win today. It's going to be a problem for the Ravens. But we need to understand, I think the loss of Marshall Yanda what he meant to the O-line is going to be a little understated. Not sure they're going to open the kind of holes that they were opening last year. Lamar needs to step up his play from the pocket. I like him. I really do. I loved Michael Vick, but I felt like the light bulb didn't click for Michael Vick until late in his career on how to play from the pocket. I really don't think he can run in the same capacity that he was running. And I hope that that's not the emphasis this year. It'll be fun to watch, but I don't think fundamentally it's winning football. I think as they stress he plays from the pocket, there will be some fallback, but the future is bright otherwise. I see Lamar getting hurt or taking too many hits if they continue to go down the path they were going. The other thing, the defense. Last year, it goes without, it was a little understated how bad, in my opinion, this run defense was. You couldn't really see it until the playoffs when they played Tennessee, because they were running up the score on everybody. Nobody could handle Lamar all regular season, so you couldn't really dictate pace with the running game, and it affected the way teams play. They had to play from behind. They had to abandon the run. This year, I don't think you're going to see so much of that. Now, they did shore up the front with some veterans, Derek Wolfe, Calais Campbell, but I don't think that completely fixes the run defense. They did get Patrick Queen, who's great in pass coverage, but he's a little bit on the smaller side. He's more of a coverage linebacker, so I'm not sure they did enough to shore up the run defense. And I also think that the loss of Earl Thomas, while a lot of people seem to praise it, that it's, hey, he didn't represent the Raven way, the problem for them is they don't have a great pass rush. They had Judon, he had a good season, but they don't have somebody that I think is special. I don't think Judon's special. I think he's very good, and I don't think they can create pressure without blitzing. So with that being said, what's happened here is they get up, then they blitz a lot. As a result of blitzing a lot to get to the quarterback and creating that kind of pressure, they have three corners, Jimmy Smith, Marlon Humphrey, and Marcus Peters. But then you factor in Earl Thomas, they could man up across the board and send the house, because all four of those guys can man up well. And as a result, it transferred. If you notice, when they got Marcus Peters, it felt like the defense transformed. Now, losing Earl Thomas, I think is a really underrated step back for them. Considering, I can't believe people have just written him off like he's not an all-time great. I know he may have had an attitude issue, but we'll see how it works out for the Ravens. I think they're second. Then I think, and I know a lot of people aren't going to believe this, but I think the Steelers are going to be third in this division. A lot of people are hyped about Ben Roethlisberger coming back, but I really think this should have took a page from the Vikings playbook and retooling on the fly. I Last time we saw Ben Roethlisberger, I don't think he looked great. He had a good season, but remember they didn't make the playoffs, and he also got hurt, I think, that year. Then he got hurt for the season last year. I don't expect much from him but to get hurt. He had elbow surgery. He is an upgrade to Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges. However, I can't see where Ben Roethlisberger survives the season. I think the O-line started to show age a little bit last year, and it's going to be a little bit of a problem considering that you got to protect Ben. He likes to hold on to the ball. Now, if he's able to hold on to the ball and sling it, you can see some things, but I honestly don't see the Steelers being better than third, considering the Browns' ascension and the Ravens, I just think, are an overall better team. Now they'll be in the fight, I think, all year, but I think they're third in this division. They do have weapons on the outside with the drafting and Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, but they have no reliable running back. James Conner can't stay healthy. I did like a little bit of what I saw from Benny Snell, but nothing spectacular. The defense is real, though, in particular the front seven. Casey Hayward, I really think, is the engine that makes this team go. TJ Watt was a beast on the outside. Devin Bush is a phenom in the middle. He has a very bright future. And then Minkah Fitzpatrick looked like a Defensive Player of the Year candidate on the back end. I think they have a down year at corner, though, with Hayden getting another year older. And I have never been a fan of Steven Nelson. My partner in crime that you should meet here sometime in the future. You'll hear us argue about him a lot. I think Steven Nelson is hot garbage. I think that defense protects him a lot. Go back to his first 3 years at the Chiefs. Man got toasted habitually. We'll see what happens this year. So I think some of the regressing and the progressing of the rest of the division, the regression by the Steelers and the progression of the rest of the division is why I picked them third. The Bengals are going to be last here, but I also think they're a bit of a wild card because I think Joe Burrow is real. I think the weapons around him are real, and they have A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, John Ross, Joe Mixon. Like, they are set up everywhere with weapons. Problem is, the offensive line's a little bit of a work in progress, considering that they did draft Jonah Williams last year. He got hurt, so we don't even know what to expect from him, but we expect him to be a plug-and-play left tackle. But the rest of the line's a little rough. So I think Joe Burrow could surprise some people. I think this offense could surprise some people. Remember that their coach came from the Sean McVay coach tree. So with all those weapons, it'll be an interesting offense to see. The problem here is the defense. Dunlap, Geno Atkins return on that D-line, but I kind of think they're getting over the hill, and the back seven's a problem. They couldn't stop a nosebleed last year through the air. Not much different now, even with the addition of Mackenzie Alexander and Von Bell. They did add Trey Waynes, but he's out for the year with a pectoral injury, I believe. So let's move on to the AFC South. Titans, unfortunately, I think have the best chance to win this division on the strength of the fact that they're just the most complete team. Tannehill had a career resurgence, having his best capsule weapons and O-line ever in his career. Derrick Henry's a monster. A.J. Brown, Corey Davis on the outside with Humphrey in the slot, and Jonnu Smith at tight end makes them dangerous. On defense, they have playmakers everywhere. Vic Beasley and Clowney to go with Harold Landry. Jeffrey Simmons on the D-line. Pass rush was the one thing they were missing, and they got it. And they also have a pretty decent secondary with Kelvin Byard and Adoree Jackson. The next team is the Colts. So I have them second. Really good O-line, interesting weapons in T.Y. Hilton, Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman Jr. They drafted Jonathan Taylor, but still have Marlon Mack and Naeem Hines. Also have a lot of weapons. Their defense is okay. They're relying on some veterans for the pass rush, though. Chris Houston, maybe the trade for Buckner gives them the interior pass rush that they need. And Darius Leonard is just a monster at linebacker. But their secondary, they're not bad, but they don't have the greatest secondary. They're going to have a lot of bend but don't break type of season as far as the defense goes in the scheme. I'm not sure that they fixed their coverage with Xavier Rhodes. Xavier Rhodes looked poor last year. He looked done last year. And TJ Carey, he's an upgrade, but I don't like this secondary. Malik Hooker is an interesting one, but he's always hurt. They're going to go as far as Phillip Rivers takes them. And I'm not convinced he can do it. I thought he looked done last year as well. So just on paper, I'll put them second. But Phillip Rivers could fall off a cliff and this team can go south fast. Now, the Texans are my next team. What can I say about the Texans, man? I think this is just a poorly run organization. The one thing they did right was they had DeAndre Hopkins. They had the common sense to draft Deshaun Watson, who is that deal. But then they traded DeAndre Hopkins away because Bill O'Brien, for whatever reason, didn't want to pay him. The rumors are swirling around that they just didn't get along. So, hey, let me trade arguably one of the best, he's at least top 3 wide receivers in the league, to the Cardinals for David Johnson and his albatross of a contract and a couple draft picks that wasn't even a first-round pick. So I just think they're really poorly run in that regard. However, they are also intriguing. Like, I'd love to play with this team if we were playing Madden, but being that I'm a Jag fan, it won't allow me to do it because they have a track team around them. Brandon Cooks, Kenny Stills, Will Fuller can straight up fly. David Johnson can even fly. The problem here is the O-line still just not good enough. And while they all can fly, they also have like the all-injured team. Because Brandon Cooks is one concussion from being knocked out of his career. Will Fuller, I'm not even sure he has hamstrings left. And then Kenny Stills is the only guy. They do have Randall Cobb, so thank God for that. But they lose the element of speed with him. So I can't imagine that they're better than third, and because the offense isn't even really the issue, to be honest with you. The defense, outside of J.J. Watt and Cunningham, is not very good. You saw what they looked like against the Chiefs, and I know the Chiefs do that to everybody, but they're not very good. They can't stop the pass. They don't have enough push, considering Whitney Merciless only had 3.5 sacks on the pass rush side. It's going to be a rough year. They're going to go as far as Deshaun Watson takes them, but it's asking a lot, and I can't see them being better than third. Now, I will say, sort of like the AFC West, I believe the division with the Chiefs and Broncos, this could be a division that has a lot of good teams. This division can bust all together, but this division could have a lot of good teams. And I left the Jaguars for last because, granted, on paper, I will give you on paper, they look like the worst team in the division. However, I honestly feel like I can't give this team a proper analysis without actually seeing what kind of product they're going to put on the field. They let go of Leonard Fournette. It looks like a bad move, but if you look at the running backs they kept in Devin Ozigbo and James Robinson, these were guys that were highly productive in college. And as everybody knows, you can find running backs in late rounds. Running backs are the easiest position typically to translate to the NFL. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of these running backs pops this year and replaces the production that Leonard Fournette had. For all the talent he had, Leonard Fournette, I felt like, didn't have the greatest vision, didn't make people miss. If these guys provide that vision to make you miss, I'll trade, having a hulking running back running at 22 miles per hour up the field on a play here and there for a consistent 4 or 5 yard gain type of running back. Not a problem. Now, I also like Gardner Minshew and the wide receivers, but I don't know what to expect from the running back position with that being said, and the O-line. The O-line has some young tackles. Cam Robinson is in a make or break season. We'll see how he gels coming back from the ACL injury last year. Jawan Taylor was the best right tackle in the draft last year. Hopefully he takes another step. But it all depends on the offensive line. I think Gardner Minshew is enough to keep us afloat if they can protect him. I think the wide receivers are plenty talented with Chark, Conley. I think people are going to really be sleeping on Keelan Cole. If we lose him, he could be a guy that I think you see explode on another team next year. And they did draft Laviska Shenault, who's going to be a very interesting wide receiver to watch. Now, the defense is young, but there's so much talent. Josh Allen, Miles Jack, Joe Schobert, CJ Henderson was drafted. The secondary is an issue. They have Trey Hendrickson on one side, CJ Henderson on the other. There's so much youth on this defense, but they're so talented as well. The problem is when you have talent and youth, you're going to see a lot of mistakes, but you can also see a lot of good plays if they mature quickly. I think this could be a team that surprises a lot of people. I'm not going to go as far as to say they're going to overtake the AFC South, but this is going to be one of those teams that by the end of the year, nobody wants to play. I think Josh Allen is special. K'Lavon Chaisson, if he gives us at least very good play, we still have a very good pass rush with those two. I saw a lot of people were high on K'Lavon Chaisson. I saw a guy, he didn't have the most production, but I saw a guy that was always around the quarterback, always around the play at LSU. So they did trade away Ronnie Harrison at safety. It was puzzling, but it's because they were high on Josh Jones. And if you look up Josh Jones, he was a guy that ran a 4.4, made plays in college, fast, strong. Not sure why it didn't work out in Green Bay, but hopefully maybe a system change will change all that. And they got to see something, right? Considering that they traded away Ronnie Harrison, which was a safety from Alabama who was highly touted. You don't just let go of 6'3" box safeties like him. But maybe the issue is they thought Josh Jones was just better in coverage. So with that being said, the biggest story here on the defense is going to be, can they stop the run? They signed Tim Jernigan. They drafted Devon Hamilton. I think they have the, with Joe Schobert as well, I think they have the means to go ahead and stop the run. But to be continued, I got to see what they look like, and then I can give a more comprehensive breakdown. If you want me to go ahead and give you a more comprehensive breakdown of each one of your teams, if you have a request, just hit me up in the comments. Please click the like, subscribe button on the Fan Smarter YouTube channel. Follow me on Hope0219 on Instagram. And I appreciate you guys listening. And I'll be on the couch that's behind me watching football all day today. Hit me up in the comments. Tell me what you think and what you guys are seeing, and let's talk about it. All right? All right. Peace out. Happy Football Sunday.